Hi, everyone. Good evening. Carl Steinbeck here on day 10 of the Kouri Richins murder trial out there in Utah, Park Lake City area. And just want to cover some of the highlights of today. And we had quite an eventful day here. And it's, again, one of these deals where the defense is sort of doesn't have really much of a point. They're trying to drive through each of the witnesses. One of the things that's very important as a trial attorney is to have a theory, and everything flows through this theory to support the theory that you have. You got to give it legs. And so what I see defense doing is just sort of trying to poke holes and asking questions that don't really lead to anything. And so you're just sort of like, what's your point? What's the point of all this? And so today was, even more introduction of head scratching type things. And even as I mentioned here in the title, there's even another potential motive to kill for Kouri. So it's just sort of like they don't have much of strategic thinking in the way they conduct their defense. And so it's one of these deals that they don't have a lot to work with, but even if you don't have a lot to work with, at least have a theme and stick to it. And they can't stick to a theme. And that's sort of like the basic foundations of trial advocacy. So it was quite entertaining of sorts, but also quite disappointing on the other hand, seeing this as a trial attorney. So let's go ahead and jump in. I'm going to jump around here, and I'm not going to cover everything, obviously, because we got over 7 hours of testimony today. So I'm just going to try to condense this down and do this in less than 2 hours with the commentary and analysis. So here we go. For the start of the day, we had Cody Wright. That's the business partner of Eric Richins. And we also had a Matt Throckmorton. He was the forensic documents examiner. He was followed by the detective on the case, Jamie Woods. And then that was followed by Todd Gassler, who was the private investigator that the Richins family hired. So that's where we got through today. There's a lot of objections and stuff. The defense had filed a couple motions overnight, over the weekend, and it has to do with jail call, interview transcripts, things of that nature. So I'm not going to get into that too much here. And let's see. So we're going to go ahead and jump to a short clip here. This was on March 5th of 2022. So this is basically the day after Kouri's husband was found dead. Let me back it up. Here we go.
Can you folks see that okay? Very good. Scott, please proceed.
I think this might be, from what I understood, Chelsea, who we had earlier testify a couple days ago, the one that got bilked out of all that money to pay for a house she thought she was owning and making payments on. As it turns out, it was a big scam run by Kouri. So Kouri's to the right here, bottom right of the screen. These are some other people, and
it does have some audio on that, John, but it's not what it sounds like.
It has some audio, but
It's not coming through. It doesn't sound like.
all right. I don't know why that is. Scott, let's try again.
more video.
Hang on, I'm sorry. We admitted this through Ali staking, not Chelsea Barney.
Understood. Scott, would you
staking,
pause?
through staking. She was there. Okay. A friend of Kouri from California.
Yep.
There's Kouri.
Richard.
Look at her smiling.
Oh, you're an Afghanistan warrior.
You are an Afghanistan warrior.
Does that look like a grieving widow? I mean, that's unbelievable. This is like really, really incriminating for her. I think she knows it too. Look at her face there. Yeah. And then seeing the kids being your mom laughing and these people having a grand old time, and you just found out the day before your dad is dead. I mean, how do you deal with that as a kid? It's just unbelievable. Thank goodness there was a recording of this.
Mr. Bloodworth, the state's next witness, please.
Your Honor, the state calls Kouri Wright.
Mr. Wright, good.
Good morning.
I did. Met him in high school. He was an acquaintance of my brother. Met him through him. Became good friends through the hunting world. He was a rancher. I liked hard work. He loved hard work. And we became friends almost immediately through that. That led to a lifelong of events together and fun together and work together. We had a lot of good times.
Yeah, I think Kouri got her days of celebration mixed up. She's always talking about the night he died that she was celebrating. It looks like it was the night after he died that they were celebrating. And it looks like in a way as if they're celebrating his death. I mean, it is hard to watch. I agree with those comments here I see. So anyway, he went on to say here that he had 12 years with C&E. The C stands for his first name, Cody, and then, of course, E for Eric. He'd see Eric about 2 times a week. They talked daily, and Cody was more of the tile guy and some other stuff, while Eric was the masonry guy. So anyway, they had sort of different projects. Some of their projects would overlap, but for the most part, their projects did not overlap. And he said at one given time, they'd have up to 45 projects, and the business was constantly growing and expanding. And he said they would hunt most all of August, and then it would roll into much of the days of September, October, all the way through February, many different days hunting. He said that Eric was funny, life of the party, very much a comforter kind of person, but he also knew how to get in somebody's face, to the words to that effect, if they need to do a better job. And then he mentioned how he received a call where Eric was distraught, and it had to do with Kouri Richins Realty, her company, her LLC, and she needed some assistance. So this is like a financial assistance, and the defense objected, and the prosecution should have gotten around it by this saying it's not offered to prove the truth of the matter asserted to what what Eric said to Cody, but rather it was having to do with the effect on Cody. But for some reason, that was not brought up.
Shortly after I met him, he came to work for a family business as a hod tender.
Let me jump up here to 59.
Assisted Kouri Richins Realty.
Yes.
There you go.
Richins Realty. Are you generally familiar with Kouri Richins Realty?
Generally familiar.
Did there come a time when C&E assisted Kouri Richins Realty?
Yes.
How did that come about?
Eric called me, was distraught. I said that some things had happened in their home that
Object to hearsay.
Sustained, please rephrase.
Okay, the prosecution, you should stand up and say, Your Honor, I'm not offering it for this. So defense is getting a lot of hearsay stuff in, so they're really not trying to play equal here.
Or just keep moving.
Your Honor, can we approach?
Sure.
So there's just a lot of approaching on this case, and I don't know why they just can't argue it in front of the jury. I'm not used to seeing it this much. For my trial practice where people are going that much up to have sidebars, I mean, just let it be discussed in front of the jury unless it's something really prejudicial for the defendant. So the prosecution should go ahead and I think just say, Your Honor, I'm not offering for the truth of the matter asserted, show the effect on listener, and just be confident and bold the way you say that in front of a judge. So anyway, so it's taking time here, and then he's going to go back, and then the witness doesn't know what they're allowed to say, and are they going to get interrupted again with an objection? This is taking too much time. Look at that. We're still jumping ahead 30, 60, 70 seconds. Way too long for a sidebar and something so trivial. Pretty important.
Sir, did there come a time when C&E assisted Kouri Richins' business?
Yes.
How did C&E, without saying anything that Eric told you, how did C&E assist Kouri Richins' business?
There was a loan that was needed to be had for that business that was asked for, where C&E would provide the funds to fund a project, and C&E did provide those funds.
Was that a loan rather than an investment?
It was a loan.
Was it in extraordinary circumstances that caused C&E to loan Kouri Richins money?
There was a need for that loan. There was a need for that money to make sure that financial things were going to happen for reimbursement.
And was that related to a K. Richins Realty project on Franson Lane?
Yes.
And was that in October of 2020?
Yes. Please.
And was that approximately $200,000?
Approximately.
Are you familiar with a buy-sell agreement that you and Eric had in place?
So there she is passing notes and stuff like that, but no grieving at all.
Should anything happen to either of you?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a New York life insurance policy, a set of New York life insurance policies that were associated with that buy-sell agreement?
Yes.
Are you familiar with the series of beneficiary changes to the New York life policy on your life in January of 2022?
I was told those happened.
Did you make those beneficiary changes to your New York life policy in January of 2022?
I did not.
Did you ever make any beneficiary changes to that New York life policy?
No.
Did you ever observe Eric Richins make any beneficiary changes to that New York life policy?
No.
Your Honor.
Of course.
Your Honor, I'm approaching the witness with Exhibit 8-49. It's tab
File C.
and tab 3.
We requested any signatures that they might have to be sent.
And did they then provide those to you?
Yes.
So that's what he did for the insurance company to see what's going on. How did beneficiaries get changed without him knowing about it?
Sir, can you turn to tab 7, please?
Yeah.
Did you request and obtain from Big D Construction those documents containing Eric Richins' signature?
Same thing. We asked if they had any signatures and if they could send those over. If they did, provide those for us.
And then, sir, tab 13. Did you request and retrieve those documents from the Ford dealership?
I did not request the ones from Labor and Ford.
Okay. The documents at tabs 2, 3, and 7, did you then provide those to Katie Rich?
All right.
But
Well, here's the
The alley,
photo.
right?
Looks like that was the same night, perhaps as a drinking and doing those shots. So Cody said his wife was not a part of this group here, and apparently he wasn't either then.
Yes.
Is Allie right in this photograph?
No.
Thank you.
Eric had Lyme disease at one point.
Here, let me ask that up. You have a question about it.
Sir, have you ever observed Eric sick or injured?
Yes.
Can you give some examples, please?
Eric had Lyme disease at one point. Saw him when he had COVID. I saw him when he had a cold. I saw him when he had the flu. I saw him when he had back pain. Hunched over from lifting a rock and tweaking his back to where he could barely walk. Yeah.
How did Eric react to illness or injury?
He's a cowboy. Eric is a go get him. He's not going to sit at home because he's sick. He's not going to.
See, these kind of questions, he's laying foundation to develop how Eric being sick from the food given by Kouri on Valentine's Day on 2022, he's got to be really, really sick to talk about wanting to go to the hospital. He's a tough guy. It's not some bad food that he eats isn't going to knock him down, but something really serious had been put in his food there that made him really sick enough to describe it, as we see here in a second.
Stay home because he has COVID. He's not going to not show up because he's feeling under the weather. He's very tough-spirited, rough-hearted as far as not being a wimp goes.
Other than allergy medication, have you ever seen Eric use over-the-counter drugs?
No.
Have you ever seen Eric use prescription drugs?
No.
Have you ever seen Eric use illicit drugs?
I have never seen him use illicit drug.
Now, when he was asking these questions, I'm thinking, have you seen him? Whatever. Okay, well, what about, do you know of him? All right, so maybe Eric knows that this guy is totally not into that kind of stuff and not approving of it. So he sort of introduces this as an issue for the defense now to pursue.
Sir, do you recall receiving a phone call from Eric at approximately 2 p.m. on Valentine's Day, 2022?
Yes.
Without saying what Eric said to you, why is it you remember that phone call?
See, if Eric would have said something like, hey, I think Kouri gave me something in my sandwich or omelet, whatever the case is, and I think she put something in there because I feel like I'm about to die. If something like that was told to him, it's state of mind as an exception to hearsay. It's you could offer it not for the truth in the matter asserted. It's something that I'm surprised the prosecutor just skips around it on this.
The fear in his voice, the urgency of the situation, the seriousness of what was going on.
Have you ever heard Eric sound like that before?
The only other times I heard that urgency and that fear when he called me telling me that his mother had passed away in the hospital. I also heard that urgency or that fear when he had been rear-ended in an accident, and feared that the person that had hit him had passed away as well, or had hit him hard enough that he was scared of what had just happened.
In other words, this was something potentially deadly serious, something that was put in his food.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any further questions.
Here's more water in that crap.
Ms. Nestor, please proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. May it please the court. Good morning, sir. You and I have met before, but just to remind you, I'm Kathy Nestor and I'm one of Kouri's attorneys. So I want to talk to you about C&E a little bit. You mentioned that the, excuse me, Your Honor. You mentioned that the company was growing about the time Eric passed away, right?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yes, it was slowly growing. Yep.
Okay. And you guys split everything 50-50.
Financially and in the administration part of the business, yes.
So whatever you made in a year, he made in a year.
Yes.
So in 2022, how much did you earn that year?
Objection,
I
Your Honor,
don't-
relevance.
If you approach me.
Yeah, walk away, Renee. Why wouldn't excited utterance be an exception here? Say if Eric truly thought he was dying. If he's excited enough, it could be as well. Dying declaration. Well, he didn't die, so I don't think it'd be a dying declaration. But I mean, there's 24 exceptions to hearsay, so I think it would be pretty easy to get that in. So like I say, it was a matter of prosecution just not pursuing that for some reason. But another sidebar, bogged down.
Or just a few months before Eric died, how much did you clear that year? Income,
Are you talking personally or in the business or
personally.
personally? I don't have those numbers in front of me. I'm not positive what that number would be.
Was it more than $500,000?
Personally, no.
Okay. Do you know that, do you know what Eric made in 2021?
Mr. Bloodworth, go ahead.
Objection, foundation.
It's a yes or no question, so if you would start there, sir. Overmove.
Do you know what Eric made in 2021?
No, not off the top of my head.
All right. So if there's tax returns that have already come in that indicate, that came in through an expert, that indicate he declared around between $700,000 and $900,000, would that be way off base for that year?
You pause there for a moment. Mr. Bloodworth.
Objection, foundation.
I don't know why the prosecution is objecting. I mean, money is a motive for this particular case. So what he was making and the business was making and them individually, I don't see that as a problem.
Yeah, will you approach for a minute?
And now we take more time. So I would just let stuff like that go. If I was a prosecutor, focus on the stuff that really matters. This isn't hurting you, whatever money they made.
Increase in value and resulting in increased income to both of you over the years?
Before he passed, you're
Yes.
asking? Yes, we would have projected that our company would continue to grow.
And fair to say that you both would be financially secure as long as that continued to happen?
As long as that continued to happen, yes.
All right. That's one.
Yeah, exactly. Eric would have financial security if there's a divorce, but she would not. Kouri would not. So I don't know what the defense is trying to prove here. What's the point?
One point, before Eric passed, you actually had Kouri Richins on your payroll. Is that right?
Correct.
And she would get monthly income from your company?
Correct.
And do you remember how much she would get?
Ms. Nestor, I apologize for interrupting. Mr. Wren, I need you to answer just a little bit louder.
You bet.
Brittany's listening on the mic and we're not picking it up. Go ahead.
So you had Kouri on the payroll, right?
Yes.
How much was she making every month? Do you remember?
I don't recall.
Right. And then when Eric passed, isn't it true that Kouri asked to be removed from the payroll?
I do not believe she asked to be removed from the payroll. We continued to pay her for some time after he passed.
Like a week.
I recall it being longer than a week,
How long do you recall it being?
a couple of months.
Okay.
Look at Kouri's expression. Something about money. She's got her eyebrow or her whole forehead scrunched up. So bring up money and she gets, you notice her emotions change, her physical demeanor changes.
You also had as part of your company a business called Fox Lake Investments, right?
Correct.
And Fox Lakes was separate from C&E, correct?
Objection, Your Honor, scope.
Sustained.
Okay. Did you at one point engage in house flipping like Kouri Richins had through your C&E business?
Through C&E.
Not through C&E, through Fox Lake, through anything.
Objection, Your Honor, scope.
Sustained.
Okay. All right, let's talk about the
I mean, yeah, it is outside the scope technically, but as a prosecutor, I'd let this slide because what are you going to do? Force this defense attorney to recall this guy just to ask those same questions? So I think Brad's being a little bit too strict here.
Ransom Lane property. The Ransom Lane property, you just testified that you gave a loan or invested or whatever word you want to call it, about $200,000, right?
Approximately.
And do you know what that money was used for?
The money was used for fixing up that home,
Rehab costs,
rehab costs.
right? And you got all of your money back plus interest, is that correct?
I believe we did, yes.
And do you know how much interest or profit you made on that?
I don't recall.
All right.
Yeah, Lisa, you're asking, was defense trying to make Eric look bad because he had more income and the finances were split 50-50? Well, it's a 50-50 business, so their income should have been similar, but who knows what different profits that Eric made that this guy didn't. Maybe he had some losses or something carry forwarded from other investments. Any number of reasons, because they asked for individual income differences.
And you talked about a buy-sell agreement that you guys had, and you just discussed that with Mr. Bloodworth. The buy-sell agreement is basically when partners in a business buy an insurance policy on each other, right?
Correct.
So that if Eric died, you would get money. If you died, Eric would get money, right?
Correct.
And the idea of that policy is that you pay the family member to divest from your business and say, look, here's the $2 million. Please don't be a partner with me. I don't want to be partners with you. I just want to pay you $2 million and you go away and you're done with this business, right?
The idea of it is to do whatever the contract states. So whatever is in that contract would be followed.
And was it your understanding that your buy-sell agreement would allow whichever person survived the other partner to pay that money to the family, and then the family would not be involved in the business from there forward?
In our buy-sell agreement, we had it so that the proceeds would go to the family.
Right. And Mr. Bloodworth talked to you about a beneficiary change on the buy-sell agreement, right?
Yes.
And that occurred on January 1st of
Objection, Your Honor. Just foundation, the beneficiary change is on the life insurance policy, not the buy-sell agreement.
I think that's what Ms. Nestor meant.
That's what I meant.
Appreciate the clarification.
Thank you. So the beneficiary to the life insurance that backed up the buy-sell agreement was changed on January 1st of 2022. Is that right?
I was told that.
Okay. And were you in fact told when you learned about this that the policy that was changed was your policy, not Eric's?
So the way that I understood that is the policy is on the person who is still alive. And I don't recall exactly the words that they used to tell me that it had been switched. They told me that someone had logged in and switched that beneficiary, and that was
to your policy.
Yeah, I don't recall the exact words that he used in that moment.
Well, think about it. You remember everything else. You don't remember if it was your policy or Eric's policy that it was changed?
Your Honor, objection, asked and answered.
Your Honor, I'd like him to have a chance to answer it.
Overruled. Please answer Ms. Nestor's question.
So it's tricky because when you it's a flip flop. So I'm trying to think about that in this setting. Give me just 1 second.
It's okay. Take your time.
So what I was told was that there was a change made to the beneficiary, that somebody had gone in and changed that and then switched it back. I do not recall him telling me whose name was changed or anything like that.
So it's possible it was your policy.
There's a possibility.
Okay. And if it was your policy, that means if you died, the beneficiary would be somebody different, not if Eric died.
Okay.
Right?
Correct.
Okay. And then it was changed back, right?
That's what I was told.
So at the time that Eric passed, Kouri Richins was not a beneficiary of your policy, right?
Can you say that again?
At the time Eric died, Kouri Richins was not a beneficiary of your personal policy, correct?
Not of my policy. No.
And she was not a beneficiary of Eric's policy, correct?
The policy stated that if he were to die, I would pay his family the money.
And that's what you did. You paid Katie Benson and the trust
I did
the
not
money.
pay Katie Benson. I paid the trust.
You paid the
and
trust.
I had put it into the court,
Okay.
which was instructed by attorneys.
Okay. So none of that money went to Kouri, right?
I have no clue where that money sits today.
You didn't give it to Kouri.
I gave it to the court
You gave it
as I was instructed through my attorney.
on the behalf of the trust.
I believe so, yes.
Okay. All right. I want to talk about the times that you saw Eric in pain.
Mhm.
So, fair to say Eric had back pain. He had back problems.
He would pinch a nerve once in a while and have back pain, yes.
And he'd be unable to work.
He would work through that.
Sometimes he'd be unable to work.
He would still probably drive around in his truck, which is considered work. I mean,
Okay.
he wasn't out lifting another stone, if that's what work. Yeah.
So it might have impacted the type of work he could do.
Yeah.
All right. And he also had knee pain, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I believe so. Mhm.
And he even had knee surgery at some point.
I don't recall that.
And then he had Lyme's disease.
Yes.
And did he complain to you about pain in his muscles from Lyme's disease?
He would tell me how painful that was. Correct.
Okay. Now, Mr. Bloodworth asked you if you had ever seen Eric take drugs, right?
Correct.
And Eric, you mentioned you guys went on a mission together, right?
Correct.
So it's fair
Different
to
times, but
it's
not
fa-
together.
it's fair to assume that you subscribe to the faith of the Church of the Latter-day Saints.
I am LDS.
Okay. And as part of that faith, you all subscribe that it is not proper to drink or take drugs, right?
If you are an active following member and you believe that, then that is correct.
And Eric knew that you were of this faith, correct?
Correct.
And he did not share with you when he drank alcohol, did he?
I would hear about it.
He didn't share it with you.
I've never been offered a drink from Eric.
And I'm sure that is a sign of respect to you and your faith.
I believe
Yes?
so. To me as a person.
And he never shared with you that he used marijuana gummies.
He himself? No, he never told me.
Okay. Did you ever see him do that around you?
No.
Okay. And again, he knew that you would not approve of that, right? Under your faith.
Eric would be okay telling me some of those things. He would tell me, but in the light that I am his good friend, that he would tell me things, right? But not be proud of that by any means.
So he did share with you that he used drugs.
No.
Objection, Your Honor. This line of question calls for hearsay.
Well,
Sustained. Just ask your next question.
did you just testify that he did tell you about things? He just wasn't proud of it?
Ms. Nestor.
Yes, sir.
Sustained. If you'd ask a different question.
Yeah, she doesn't listen to the judge when he sustains an objection. She needs to move on to some different point. What she does is she tries to sneak back the same point she just made, but the judge isn't going to let her get away with that.
So when Mr. Bloodworth asked you the question if you had ever seen Eric use drugs, your answer was no, correct?
Correct.
But you have knowledge that he did.
People have told me that.
Objection.
I'll leave it.
Hearsay.
But it's out. What do you want me to do now, Mr. Bloodworth?
Yeah, she threw that dagger out there, and now what are you going to do? Tell the jury to disregard and draw more highlight to it?
It is out. What have people told you?
You can follow up. Okay, Ms. Nestor, please keep her moving.
So this is classic hearsay. I was told by other people that I was using her. Okay, this is an out-of-court statement offered the truth in the matter asserted by the defense. So they're really trying to get the truth out on this one. So that's classic hearsay.
You mentioned that you and Eric used to go hunting together. Is that right?
Yes.
At some point, did you provide information to hunting law enforcement officials about violations that Eric had done when he was hunting?
Yes.
And was he placed in jail for that?
Yes.
And you provided that information and testimony against him?
No.
Okay. But you told the police that he did what they thought he did, right?
I was brought in and asked questions that I answered to.
And those questions incriminated Eric?
Yes.
Okay.
Some of them.
And you and Eric kind of had a falling out after that, is that fair?
Falling out in what sense?
You stopped going on vacations together with your families?
We didn't go on vacation with our families.
What's the point of all this, Nestor? Attorney Nestor, were you trying to make a point here or something? Or are you just trying to do drive-bys, cheap shots at the victim? Is that what you're doing? It's not working. The jury's going to hold that against you.
Very often as it was. So I would say that was not something that immediately happened after that.
Your relationship became more tense, more difficult between the two of you?
Oh yeah, he didn't like it.
Okay.
Yeah, he was upset about that.
So I want to talk about the Valentine's Day call that you had with Eric. To your knowledge, did Eric work that day?
Again, work is everywhere we go. We have our cell phone and we are working.
Did you know whether he worked that day?
Italiana, this is cross-examination. You are allowed to lead the witness. In fact, you should lead the witness to do an effective cross.
Would assume that he had worked that day, having received a phone call or two or done some sort of management style of work.
If I were to show you photographs of projects that he visited that morning, would you be able to recognize the project by looking at the house?
I may be able to recognize a project, but I'd have no clue if he showed up there or not, or if he had worked there that day.
Okay, can we put up for the witness States Exhibit 3-13D? All right.
Your Honor, I'm sorry, we still don't have it.
You're welcome to use that.
Look at ours.
Okay, do you see that photograph in front of you?
Yes.
All right. And that is a photograph and
Could you
Eric,
pause for one moment, Ms. Nestor? Mr. Bloodworth?
Objection, Your Honor, foundation.
he hasn't even let me get it out of my mouth yet, Judge.
Are you about to lay some time?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And so if you lay it before you represent what it is.
G. Washington is asking, how can a marital home be put in a trust? Well, if, it could be a joint trust if it is a marital home, but this home was purchased almost a year before they married. So this was a trust home before they married, so it stayed that way.
I will.
Thank you.
Do you recognize what that home is, the aerial view? Do you know whose home that is?
Yes,
Whose home is that?
Eric's.
Okay. And can you go to the next photograph, Katie? Do you recognize that overhead view of a home?
I don't.
So you don't know if that's one of the homes that Eric was working on or one of his projects at the time?
Okay, so you're trying to pinpoint what he did at everything that day. I guess, are you trying to say that he wasn't feeling that sick, or what's your point here, counsel?
Doesn't look familiar to me.
Okay, can you go to the next one, Katie? What about this very large home? Do you recognize that one?
I don't.
You don't know if you guys were doing a project on that house?
I don't.
Okay, you can take it down. On the day that you spoke to Eric Richins on Valentine's Day, he didn't, you weren't aware that he went to a doctor that day? Did you ever know of him going to the doctor, taking time off
He told me that he had gone with Carter that morning.
to get allergy shots?
Something with allergies.
Okay, but after you spoke to him, were you ever aware that he went to a doctor to follow up on how he felt that day?
Your Honor, objection calls, I think, for hearsay.
Yeah, she doesn't mind bringing all kinds of hearsay herself, but then she wants to object when the prosecution tries to do it. But these are court-appointed attorneys. These are partners in their own law firm. These are friends. Wendy Lewis and I think it's Katie Nestor. I forgot her first name right now off the top of my head, but
There's no foundation otherwise.
If he had personal knowledge, if Eric took time off to go to the doctor,
Please approach.
this guy doesn't have a lot of vivid memory of that day, so he's just remembering what happened on Valentine's Day and Eric calling him. So he wasn't trying to put a GPS tracker on his whereabouts and figure out what he was doing every second. He said he called about 2:00 in the afternoon and said he was, well, we don't know exactly what he said, but obviously it was something very serious. So defense is just trying to make mud out of it. Muddy the waters with confusion
did you give Eric a ride to the
and irrelevancy.
doctor that day?
No.
Did you give Eric a ride to the hospital that day?
No.
Did you go visit him in a hospital that day?
I did not.
Okay. Did he make any calls to you where you could hear in the background there was hospital noises or ambulances or anything like that?
No.
Did he come to work the next day?
Yes. He would have been working.
All right, the day that Eric died on March the day before he died, the 3rd, you guys went to lunch that day, didn't you?
Yes.
And you went to lunch at the Mirror Lake Cafe?
I believe that's where it was. Yes.
And you kind of spent part of the day with him that day, didn't you?
Just that at that lunch appointment.
All right. And then you got notice that he had passed, correct?
The next morning.
And did you send Becky Lloyd to Eric's house to pick up all of his computers?
At a certain point, yes. I don't remember when, but yes, she went and picked the computer up.
And was that within a day or two of his death?
Yes, it would have been within a couple of days.
And you didn't clear that with any law enforcement?
He didn't. Nope.
So you picked up his computer, or Becky picked up his computer and brought it into y'all's custody, right?
Yeah, it was C&E owned computer that we needed to company stuff from.
And did you get into the computer? Did you open it? Did you look for documents in it?
I don't know how to turn a computer on half the time.
Okay. All right. What about Miss Becky? Did she go into the computer?
Your Honor, objection here says go.
Do you know what?
Okay. What's the idea of all this computer stuff? It's a company, business computer. Should he have asked the law enforcement if it's okay to take it out? Probably should have, but you know what? They weren't treating it fully as a crime at that point. They thought it was an accidental overdose. They were still investigating. It took them 14 months to charge Kouri on this one.
Whether Becky went into
Hold
the.
on. Sustained, if you could ask
I will.
non-hearsay inducing question.
Did you see Becky go into the computer at all?
I did not see Becky.
Okay.
Yeah, she's trying to play all these gotcha. Oh, did you see this? Did so-and-so do that? And you took it out of the house? What? Trying to make this all sound sensational. It's just gibberish nonsense.
And then at some point, a private investigator came to talk to you about that computer, correct?
Okay, first of all, I want to say, Anthony Del Grosso, you're saying I was talking about this guy snitched on his friend about hunting. The friend is Eric, about hunting violations. That's ridiculous and horrible friends. Well, somebody else reported Eric as killing an elk, and he didn't have a permit to do that. And they came to him, the law enforcement interviewed him to see if he had indeed brought home an elk. So anyway, I don't think his testimony is probably that significant, but yeah, as a friend, you wouldn't like to know a friend did that. But anyway, they still were close after that. It just maybe not quite as close. Then COVID hit. So it's an issue where maybe they just didn't have a chance to rebond like they originally had, that close friendship.
Correct.
And that would be Mr. Todd Gabler.
Correct.
And Todd worked for the Richins family or the trust.
I don't know who he worked for, but I assume that's correct.
And you told him that Becky had the computer?
Correct.
And you sent him to get it from Becky?
I don't remember sending him.
Did you authorize Becky to give it to him?
We would have in that instance, yes.
Okay.
Okay, Meek and Me is saying it's not gibberish nonsense. Sheik's suggesting he may have had something to do with it. I thought host was a lawyer. Okay, well, you know what? I don't think defense is trying to suggest that. And if you have more experience, maybe why don't you start your own channel? So anyway.
And in all that time, no law enforcement had gotten the computer first?
Correct.
All right. And then isn't it true that shortly after Eric died, you also sent somebody to pick up his work truck?
Correct.
And explain to me what the work truck looked like.
Brown Ford 550 flatbed truck.
And I noticed you said earlier that work a lot of times involved driving around in that truck, right?
Correct.
So he spent a lot of time in that truck.
He did.
And the truck was parked generally in the garage in the back of his house. Is that fair?
I don't know where he parked it.
But you sent someone named, what was the person's name that you sent to go get the truck?
I don't recall who I sent.
Okay. Somebody named Victor?
I don't recall.
Okay. And he went to pick the truck up and took it out of the garage, right?
But if it was in the garage, then he would have taken it out of the garage. I don't know where it was parked.
Okay.
What's the point of all this? Attorney Nestor, please, what's the point of all this? When attorneys don't have anything, they just do all this fluff and puff and grandstanding. So they don't have anything here. Really, that's what you got to present for defense?
And if the police testified that that truck was not searched when Mr. Richins died, to your knowledge, had anybody sought your permission to search it at all prior to you picking it up?
Okay, well, now you're making a point, but it took you long enough to get there.
No.
Okay. And then you took it into your custody
Yes.
and you kept that truck.
Yes.
You still have it.
Yes.
All right. He also drove a red truck. Is that right? But like a personal truck.
Yes.
And did the C&E own the red truck?
Yes.
All right. And at some point, you found out that the red truck was being serviced. Is that right?
Yes.
How'd you find that out?
The Ford dealership called me and told me that it was ready to be picked up.
And you knew that that truck was being driven by Kouri Richins at the time?
It should not have been being driven at all.
Okay, but she had custody of it.
It was sitting at her house with instruction that it shouldn't be driven.
Okay. And when you
With
found out,
knowledge that it shouldn't be
I'm
driven.
sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I
You're good.
thought you were done. You found out the truck was ready and you went and picked it up, right?
We went and got it, yes,
You
because it had been driven.
You didn't talk to Kouri about it.
No,
You didn't discuss it with her at all.
no.
You just took it from the dealership.
It is a C&E owned vehicle. And there is ramifications for an accident for somebody that's not working with C&E.
Okay.
And so it felt that it would be proper to make sure that the truck wasn't being driven
Where's the truck now?
in
It just goes into too much minutia. Really, this is sort of insufferable to have to sit through this as a juror.
somebody's yard or house, or I don't know exactly where it's at.
When's the last time you took the truck to a car wash? When's the last time you had it detailed? I mean, come on, give it up.
Did you give it to Katie?
I did.
You gave it to her for
I
free.
did not give it to her. No,
You sold it to
it
her.
is owned by C&E.
So did C&E sell the truck to Katie or did they
No.
just give it to her?
No, it's sitting at their home or their yard or their place.
So they had it. So the people who had access to the truck before any law enforcement ever looked at it were you, Katie, anyone in Katie's family, anyone at the dealership. Is that all right?
Say that again.
The people who had access to that red truck before there was any search executed were you, Katie, anyone in Katie's family, and anyone at C&E that picked it up?
Objection Foundation.
Overruled. You can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, many people had access to that truck. If access is,
Okay.
they would have to be given the key and given permission to drive it.
So when Eric passed and his buy-sell agreement was executed and you gave the money to the court for the trust, then the company 100% became yours, correct?
Correct.
And is it fair to say that your personal net worth basically doubled at that point?
You could say that.
Okay.
So what's the point of this, Nestor? What is the point of this? I see no point that ties into your theory.
Since Eric's death, you've remained close with his family. Is that fair?
Yes.
The same thing could be said for Kouri's car. Did they search Kouri's car for fentanyl? Any other drugs?
And you and your wife have accompanied Eric's family to court and sat with them during court hearings?
Yeah.
Okay, so your testimony is shady because you like the Richins, you side with the Richins. Is that what you're trying to say, Nestor?
Court's indulgence for just one question I did forget. The New York Life, that was who had your insurance for your buy-sell, correct?
Correct.
Were you aware of whether Kouri and Eric had personal New York Life policies as well?
I don't know. I don't know that.
Okay, that's fine. Court's indulgence for just 1 minute, Your Honor.
Of course.
All right, jump ahead here.
Mentioned that Eric loved hunting, right?
Correct.
And after you gave your testimony to the Department of Wildlife and Natural Resources, Eric couldn't hunt for a while in the United States. Is that right?
Correct.
But he
Again, smearing the victim, not a good strategy. It doesn't have anything to do with the case.
still could hunt in Mexico.
Are you trying to draw sympathy to Kouri for this?
Correct.
And are you aware that shortly before his death, he went hunting in Mexico?
I am.
Do you know when?
It would have been in February sometime, I believe.
All right. And how often did he
Late
hunt
January.
in Mexico? Are you aware?
Okay, well, how is this relevant?
Sorry, what?
How often did Eric go
I'd object for relevancy here and outside the scope.
hunting in Mexico?
He went down there for a trip, so I would assume he was hunting every day that he was there.
Okay.
He gets sick down there in the Mexican trip. Maybe he's still sick from going to Mexico. Maybe it's something he ate in Mexico killed him instead of something he got from Kouri.
Are you aware of more than one time that he went to Mexico to go hunting?
Yes.
Were you aware of them more than 5 times?
I couldn't say. I don't remember.
Did you ever go
Sure.
with him to Mexico?
Could I?
Did you?
Did I know?
Do you know where in Mexico Eric went hunting?
A general area.
Yeah, she may be trying to allude to the fact that he went there to get drugs. So
I don't know exactly where.
It's a general area.
Typically, the hunting takes place in somewhere around Sonora.
yeah, so he's going to smuggle drugs on an airplane. It's one thing THC gummies on an airplane, but stuff like fentanyl, hardcore drugs, I don't think so.
Around Sonora.
Somewhere.
Okay. I think that's all I had. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Mr. Blue.
Thank you, Your Honor. Sir, from your perspective, was the loan to Kouri Richins Realty in connection with the Franson Lane property out of necessity?
Yes.
She was drowning. She was drowning in debt.
You testified that generally people had told you that Eric did drugs. I want to be specific. Did people generally tell you that Eric would use THC edibles?
Object to hearsay.
You opened the door, overruled.
Can you repeat that?
Did people tell you that Eric would use THC edibles?
People would tell me that. Yes.
Did anyone ever tell you that Eric Richins used illicit street drugs?
No.
You testified that you provided some inculpatory information to DNR officers in connection with their investigation of Eric. Do you recall that?
Yes.
Why did you provide them with information?
Eric was being investigated for a wildlife incident. Somebody else had turned him in, and they brought me in to answer some questions that they had.
And did the incident involve not having a tag and killing an elk?
Yes.
Why did you provide incriminating evidence as opposed to covering for Eric?
Eric knew what he had done wasn't right, and he was okay to be a big boy and take care of his own stuff. And I was okay to be honest and tell them the truth and allow him to do what he needed to do on his end.
Jump to 155 here. There's a motion.
The record for purposes of the record.
One moment. Can we go back to page 60? Do you have it up on your screen, Mr. Bloodworth?
I do, Your Honor.
Okay.
So the part that we're seeking to examine the witness, and we submit that the state has opened the door by asking the question, has anyone ever told you Eric used illicit drugs? And his answer was no. In this testimony at the preliminary, page 16 line, beginning at line 15. And were you aware that in high school, Eric had an addiction to pain pills? Answer, I did know that he participated in pain pill taking for sure. Question, you did? Answer, yes. And do you know what his pill of choice was that he was addicted to back then? Answer, I believe in high school we called them Red Devils.
Is that where you want to stop?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I'm not entirely sure that Mr. Wright is referring to illicit street drugs, quote unquote, there, but I also don't know the other way. Mr. Bloodworth, you'd be able to clarify that with him once it came in. I think I already ruled on a motion to eliminate that this issue would be admissible, correct?
No, Your Honor, it was the opposite.
Well,
Oh,
that's,
yeah.
In the motion in limine,
Bring it
and
with me.
we're scrambling in the back to get
Yeah.
this now, the motion in limine briefing to you. But in the motion in limine, Mr. Wright clarified this testimony to say his awareness was from other people,
Oh, that's right.
not from observing Eric Richins. So whatever he knows about Eric Richins' high school drug use, if any, is
Yeah, I don't understand why the prosecutor asked that question.
hearsay. Mr. Wright also clarified, it wasn't Mr. Wright that was clarified. Also, the state produced evidence that Red Devils, circa whatever it was, 2020-ish, was a reference to an over-the-counter cough suppressant that kids were taking in high school. So I think the defense is saying that that the state opened the door is unfounded.
may I respond, Your Honor?
One moment, I've got to read my ruling.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think state did open the door on this issue. And so what is a illicit?
So the ruling was that I deferred ruling on the motion in limine until after the parties have an opportunity to voir dire or witness Kouri Wright or provide other evidence.
So anyway, they're going to go in and voir dire this guy. So he talks about what he said at the preliminary hearing. This is all what he had heard. So it's all hearsay type of stuff, but the prosecution asked about it first. So anyway, it's something that we can jump to his voir dire outside the presence of the jury.
When Mr. Bloodworth asked you,
On the record, please.
So this is what somebody might have been, what you heard, rumors might have been about what Eric used when he was in high school. This is like really, really far back now. And what exactly are these Red Devils? Is it Sudafed? Is it something else? And they can have a fight over that.
All right, counsel, thank you for that break. A little bit more context here
Yeah, defense trying to claim it's a PCP.
for this discussion. As we discussed on the record during the hearing on the parties' various motions in limine, the topic or the concept of whether Eric Richins used pain pills during his lifetime, prescription or non-prescription, illicit, that is relevant. But at the motion to eliminate hearing, and as I sit here right now, it's unclear as to whether there's any admissible evidence that he did. So, Ms. Nestor, I think the correct course forward, based upon where we are right now, is to allow you to voir dire Kouri Wright regarding his knowledge of the topic that he discussed at the preliminary hearing. Having heard or known or learned somehow that Eric Richins used pain pills in high school and they were red devils. If that reference is to prescription pain medication, it impeaches Mr. Wright's testimony on the stand today that he's never known Eric to use prescription medication. If it's illicit street drugs, it impeaches his testimony that he's never known or heard about Eric using illicit street drugs. If he doesn't know what red devils are, we're all just speculating, including the jury, and that's not permissible. Mr. Bloodworth, any comment there?
Your Honor, I think Mr. Wright's testimony, let me grab the question. Was that he had never seen Eric Richins use prescription drugs or illicit drugs.
So let's see what he says on voir dire to see if it actually impeaches that or not.
Correct.
Yeah. I'm sensitive to the precision of the questions you were asking at various points.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything further, sir?
No, sir.
All right. Conditions. If so, one.
Your Honor. Welcome back. So we want to just dig in a little bit to the question that you were asked on redirect. When Mr. Bloodworth asked you if anyone had ever told you that Eric used illicit drugs. And I believe he said illicit street drugs. Does that sound right? Or do you recall?
Did he say illicit street drugs? Is that what you're asking?
What was your understanding of the question that he asked you at the very end about whether you'd ever heard about Eric using drugs?
Illicit street drugs.
Right. What was your understanding of that question?
If anyone had ever told me about him using an illicit street drug.
Okay.
Now, I'm not in the drug world. I have no clue what most drugs are categorized as. So
Did you talk to anyone outside in the hallway while you were waiting?
I did not.
Okay, just checking. Okay. So at the preliminary hearing, we asked you some questions about whether you were aware that Eric used pain pills in high school. Do you remember that?
Yes.
And are you aware of that?
I was told that that had happened.
All right. And were you ever told about where he got those pain pills?
I have no idea where he got those pain pills from.
So when Mr. Bloodworth asked you earlier today if you were ever aware of Mr. Richins using prescription drugs, you said no.
Your Honor, that's not the question I asked.
Pause, Mr. Wright. If you would just object to foundation and restate the question for me.
Your Honor, objection foundation.
Let me ask you this way.
Sustained. Go ahead.
Was it your understanding in high school when you had this knowledge that Mr. Richins was using these drugs illicitly? In other words, not with the prescription of a pharmacist?
I need you to be more precise in that question. Which drugs are you referring to?
The pain pills, sorry.
And if you would re-ask it, please.
Was it your understanding in high school when you knew about this that Mr. Richins was using his own prescription for pain pills or someone else's?
I learned about this later on in life, not in high school.
Okay, and what did you learn?
And I learned that he had taken pain pills in high school. That's what I had been told.
Without a prescription?
I didn't get asked if there was a prescription.
Yeah. What do they mean by illicit drugs? Are they talking about drugs that are manufactured in some kind of cartel's crime lab? Is it something that you can buy at a pharmacy without a prescription? So I think there's a lot of different definitions of that, and a lot of people could have different definitions. So I think it's just fraught with confusion by the prosecution asking that question. So that's what we're having, is this long delay in argument and motions on it. But I think ultimately, the prosecution asked these kind of questions from this witness. So I think defense should have fair game to ask him about anything that he's then heard about or knows about him using any kind of drugs at any time in his life. So I think that would be the thing to do. That's confronting this witness. And so it may not sound like it's fair to the victim, but ultimately you have a Sixth Amendment issue here, the right to confront your accusers, and that's what these attorneys are doing. So I think that it's something to just preserve the record. What's it going to hurt if it comes out to the jury? So anyway, it's sad to see this kind of thing get bogged down here in the trial. And the jury, someone's asking about the jury. Are they getting tired of this? I think that, most of the jurors, I saw somebody answered it who was posted a comment this morning that said that the jury is mostly in their 50s. There's a couple in their 30s. And so, they probably don't know what a lot of this terminology is as well regarding the drug world, especially back some 30 years ago.
Scripture or not, I don't know.
All right. And then I think you said in the prelim that you thought they were called red devils. Is that right?
That's what I was told.
And was it your understanding that red devils were an illicit street drug?
I don't know what an illicit street drug entails, but I assumed that the Red Devils were being abused, as that's what high school.
Yeah, Law RN Texas, you missed the part Nestor said this case about drug addiction. If Eric was addicted, Kouri is innocent. Yeah, she did say that. I recall that.
Kids were doing.
So people were doing that in your school.
So that supports what I'm saying. If you have a defense theory that, hey, he was an addict, he was using drugs, and everybody knew what he was using, and he was doing this on his own, and he happened to get something laced with fentanyl, so it was an accidental overdose. I think all this kind of stuff is fair game for the defense.
I heard that, yes.
And did you know what red
Later
devils?
on in life.
What did you know what red devils were?
Yeah, the commenter who'd been in court said, posted a comment on this channel. I believe it was a female subscriber. She said it was a 6-6 split, and in Utah, unless it's capital murder, only then do they have 12 jurors. So they only have 8, and there's 4 alternates here. So there's 6 and 6. So we don't know which are which. Obviously, which are an alternate, which are primary.
Learn later on what those were. Yes.
What are those?
I believe it's Sudafed.
Oh, it's Sudafed?
I think. I'm not a drug person. I'm sorry.
Okay. Could be pseudoephedrine, maybe.
I have no idea.
Okay.
But that's what I think it is Sudafed being abused.
Okay. So when you testified at the preliminary hearing that you were aware in high school that or you became aware later that in high school Eric abused Red Devils and pain pills. Do you still stand by that today?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Your Honor, do you need more than that?
I understand Mr. Wright's testimony on the record.
Okay. Okay. Let me just think for 1 second if there's anything else. When you answered Mr. Bloodworth's question in front of the jury that you had not heard from anyone that Eric used illicit street drugs, that's except for what you heard about in high school?
Objection, Your Honor. The foundation.
I can ask him what his intention of his answer was, Your Honor. Did you intend to carve that out?
That's a fair question.
Can you restate that? I'm sorry.
You intend to carve out from that answer what you knew about high school?
What answer? Sorry.
From the answer that Mr. Bloodworth asked you in front of the jury, if anyone had ever told you or if you'd ever heard that Eric used illicit street drugs, did you intend to not include what you?
Yeah, that's what's so bizarre about this case is that defense is trying to make it sound like he's an addict, and yet Kouri said he never used drugs. If anybody would know, it was Kouri. So yes, Lisa, you're saying if Eric was addicted to drugs, his business partner would have noticed. Kouri said he never used drugs, and Kouri would have noticed. So there you go.
You knew in high school, are you carving that out?
If I said it that I was in high school, What I've been told about Eric is throughout my life. I don't know if it was exactly in high school. I don't know if it was in my early 20s or now.
Yeah, LMR, you're saying, isn't this not hearsay? Well, yeah, they're trying to offer the truth in the matter asserted. So yes, it is hearsay. And so they haven't talked about the exception per se, but it has to do with the did you know or have you heard on character evidence. So they're introducing this more as character evidence, and prosecution brought it up as well about his drug usage. So it's sort of like the prosecution opened the door on this, and defense is able to at least argue that this should go on to include anything you could possibly come up with, including did you know or have you heard kind of testimony. So
Now, what I've been told over the years is that he had used those in high school, and that's what I know.
Right. And so if I were to ask you the question again that Mr. Bloodworth asked you, has anyone ever told you that Eric used illicit street drugs, and you included all the knowledge you have all the way back through what he did in high school? What would your answer be now?
I don't know what illicit street drugs entail.
Okay.
I've been told of some drugs that he used, and that's what I would testify to, is that I know that he used some drugs, form of drugs. I don't know what they are exactly. I don't know if they're illicit street drugs or not, but that he had used drugs at some point.
That's it, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Bloodworth, anything else from Mr. Wright at this point? In terms of word?
In high school, yes.
Fort Dyer, outside.
Yeah.
They're under-
Mention-
He took THC gummies.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
Okay. Thank you. I just want to make sure, because I heard that clarification, and I wanted to make sure we followed all the way through with it.
Great.
Person that Eric used drugs in his lifetime.
No.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify that.
I need to make you take a walk again.
Okay.
Please don't speak to anybody in the lobby.
Yeah, no, the jury's not there right now. They're just trying to make a point to the judge of this is what he answered in the preliminary hearing, and he's got a different answer now. We want to impeach him on that.
Ms. Nestor, any further argument?
Well, Your Honor, I mean, I think that this witness has now clarified that if he were to answer the question now, he would include that he was aware Eric popped pills in high school. He also heard that people in his high school were doing Red Devils. He said he assumed that's what Eric was doing, but he doesn't know. But he has knowledge that Eric was popping pills. This whole case is about a pill addiction. This whole case is about whether or not.
Okay, about a pill addiction. This whole case is about that, and yet your client never told the cops that when they showed up at his house and they're trying to save him, bring him back to life, whatever the case is. She never said he was using any illegal drugs or suspected him of any illegal drugs. So right there, you're just destroying your own theory of the case.
Eric Rich.
That she loved him. Remember, she said she loved him, and then things had worked out, that they had some issues a few years prior, but they'd gone beyond that. They matured beyond that, and things are going good. So which is it? I mean, they have this evolving theory of what the relationship was like, and it's just, it makes your head spin.
Voluntarily ingested that, or if he was given it by his wife. This is a critical piece of the defense. He's been allowed to make a statement in front of the jury that we have now found out through voir dire is not 100% accurate on one of the core issues in this case. I am only asking to impeach him. I can limit it to what he said in the prelim. We can go farther if you want us to, or we can limit it to what he said in the prelim. I'll do it either way. But I think to deny Ms. Richins the right to impeach him on something this critical to the defense and the prosecution when the door was absolutely opened by the prosecution would be reversible error. And we're asking that the court allow us to do that now.
Mr. Glover.
Your Honor, the state disagrees with all of that, including the veracity of some of that. The state reverts back to what we had briefed in motions here, and by the way, that any relevancy to what happened in high school has decayed to zero 40 or 20 plus years later. The testimony at issue is Mr. Wright's response to the question of, did anyone ever tell you that Eric Richins used illicit street drugs? To which he responded, no. Nothing in his voir dire impeaches that testimony. Therefore, bringing in the preliminary hearing transcript or any further questioning on this, the preliminary hearing transcript or any further questioning on this is inadmissible.
All right. The case has to be tried based upon admissible evidence. And on both sides of the V, there are pieces of evidence that either the state or the defense has sought to admit that the court has ruled are not admissible. I'm required to apply the rules of evidence. We instruct the jury that the rules of evidence have developed over hundreds of years to make sure that trials are tried in a fair and impartial way. This issue developed in a way where defense counsel asked a question that elicited hearsay testimony regarding what Mr. Wright had heard about Mr. Richins' prior drug use generally. Whether or not that's what the defendant intended, that's what happened. So then, on redirect, the state asked two very specific questions to characterize that volunteering of hearsay by Mr. Wright. Whether they'd heard that Mr. Richins had used THC products, and whether he had ever heard that Mr. Wright used illicit street drugs. Nothing in his prior preliminary hearing testimony or during his voir dire outside the presence of the jury on the stand is admissible evidence contrary to his sworn testimony on the stand in front of the jury. His prior reference to Red Devils, he's now clarified as Sudafed, which is not pain pills to begin with. Moreover, he doesn't have any admissible testimony that Eric Richins used illicit drugs of any kind. This is hearsay. It is speculation. It's not admissible.
Yeah, I think they both opened the door, really. I mean, the defense asked that one question, and then the answer got out there, and then we had the prosecution try to do redirect, try to contain it, but that, I think, opened the door as well. So I just think it's a matter of fundamental fairness to the defendant. Whatever they want to bring up about his drug use, it's already out in front of the jury. So I think they should hear what this guy has to say to try to let the defense try to impeach him.
Your Honor, may I just make a record?
Of course.
Your Honor, it's our position that, first of all, when I asked the question, it was not objected to by the state. Second of all, I'd like to make the record that this would be for purposes of impeachment. To deny us this opportunity is a violation of Crawford. It is a violation of our Sixth Amendment right to cross-examine. It is a violation of our due process right to a fair trial. We would be able to call in our case an expert who would testify that Red Devils were in fact PCP in that period of time. They were not Sudafed. The DEA has a pamphlet on that.
You know, if they want to go back that far, just talk about what he was doing in high school. I mean, they're just grasping at straws. Let them grasp and bring this kind of evidence in. That's the way I look at it as a prosecutor. So whatever they want to bring up about his past, and I can just blast it out of the park because it's not going to make any sense.
We're being denied that option. We're being denied the ability to attack the credibility of someone who has changed. Respectfully, we disagree with Your Honor's position on this. We think he absolutely changed his testimony.
And I don't think you can absolutely say for sure he changed his testimony. The understanding of what these terms mean is fluid. And so I just think that you just let it in just for making sure this is not an appellate issue.
And we're being prohibited the right to impeach him on the fact he changed his testimony. And I believe that the question I would ask him if I were allowed to go forward would be, did you learn that Eric popped pills in high school? And that would impeach what he said to Mr. Bloodworth, unrebutted and not allowed to be rebutted by me when we know.
Popped pills? Okay, really? Where are you coming up with that? What does that phrase mean?
That I can rebut it. And we, on our strongest way possible, we object to this. We would like a continuing objection. We move to strike all of Kouri Wright's testimony, all of the issues that Mr.
Whoa, you lost me.
On redirect, the redirect testimony.
Which piece?
Where he answered the question that I'm not now being allowed to impeach him on. We're asking to strike it at the very minimum. All of the things that Mr. Bloodworth just brought up all go to weight, not admissibility. And
what is the non-hearsay route for this witness to testify regarding what he heard if it's coming in for the...
All right, so I'm just going to leave it at that, and I'm going to jump ahead here. So we have this guy is next. This is the
examination.
Matthew Throckmorton. He's actually a forensic examiner. So he talks about the handwriting that don't look like Eric's signature. Next we have he's not significant enough to cover, so it's just more corroboration. And then here we have after lunch, we have the 911 tape here. Here we go.
Okay. Scott, let's give this...
Exhibit 2-40D, the
All right, ask yourself, does this sound like someone who's desperately trying to make sure their husband does not die, the father of their 3 young boys? Is she doing everything she can to save this guy, her husband? According to defense theory, they're in, having a great relationship, they're in love, all that kind of stuff. So let's see.
This is the emergency. My husband's not breathing, he's cold. Okay, what's the address? 282 Willow Court. 282 Willow Court? Okay, what's a good phone number in case we get disconnected? 435 671 1987.
Is there any sense of urgency here? Or is this an obligatory phone call to 911?
Okay, it's going to be in Francis. Okay, tell me exactly what happened. I don't know. I just came in. I was sleeping with my kids. Okay, I can't understand you.
I thought it was the one son that has nightmares. The one son, not kids.
I need you to take a deep breath. What's going on? I don't know. I was sleeping in with my kids. I just came in our bed, and I turned over, and his fridge is just cold. He's just cold. Who's cold? My husband. I turned the light on. He's not breathing? He's not breathing? No. I need you to confirm it for me. Is he not breathing? No. Okay, can you do CPR?
Where's the frantic? How do I help him? What can I do? He's not breathing. Help me. Nothing like that.
No, I don't know how. You don't know. I'm going to tell you how to. Are you willing to do CPR? Yeah. Okay. If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it. No, there's not available. Okay. I'm sending the paramedics to help you now. Stay on the line and I'll tell you exactly what to do next, okay?
Just company, go.
Okay, are you right by your husband right now?
Yes, he's
so pale. His mouth is open. Okay, listen carefully. Are you able to lay him on the floor or the ground? On the ground? I'm just shaking. I can't touch him. I can't. You can do it. You can.
I've been sleeping, so I'm too tired. I'm not frantically now super alert, because I think my husband is dead or dying. I can't touch him. Why couldn't you touch him?
Do it. You need to calm down, okay? We need to help them. I can guide you through CPR. Take a deep breath for me. I'm here with you.
Okay, sorry, he
doesn't have a pulse. He doesn't have a pulse? No.
Well, that's what the CPR is supposed to do, is get him a pulse. Help get him a pulse. Like, he doesn't want to do CPR. She's looking for reasons not to do it.
There's no pulse. Okay, I'm here with you. I'm here with you. We need to get him help. If you need to put me on speaker, put me on speaker. I'm gonna guide you through CPR, okay? Okay. Tell me when you've done that. Okay, I'm ready. You're ready? Okay, he's on the floor? He's on the bed. Okay, are you able by any chance to move him on the floor? Okay.
No frantic efforts to comply. Delay. Come on. Listen to this delay that we have here.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's happening. I'm here with you. Are you not able to move him to the floor? Go out. Don't come in here.
Her kids are coming in there.
Oh my God. You're not able to move him to the floor? Just listen carefully. We just need to get him on the floor. Don't worry about hurting them. No, it's just too heavy. Is he still on the bed? Okay, if there's a sheet or a blanket under them, can you loosen it from the mattress? Yes. Okay, stand at the side of the bed closest to them and remove anything under the head. Okay. I need you to pull the sheets towards you and slide them off the bed. Don't worry about him falling. We just need to help him now. Okay. Tell me when he's on the floor. I can't move it. It's just dead weight. Like it. You're not. If he has sheets under, pull
Calling your husband dead weight? That's creepy.
them to the floor. Don't worry about hurting him.
Don't you get superhuman strength when you're in a crisis mode like this, trying to save somebody you love?
Yeah, can you please send somebody? Okay, I have the ambulance that's on the way. Okay, there's another way to do this, okay? Grab their feet. Grab his feet. Okay. Slide them towards you until they're just off the bed. Okay. How old is your husband? 39. 39? Yeah.
Good shot.
Okay.
Did she seem too upset about it? Reliving the moment? Not a single tear. Not a single tear.
Okay, were you able to pull his feet off the bed? And pulling. Okay, now grab the arm closest to you. and pull the rest of the way off the bed. Again, don't worry about the fall. We just need to help them now. I have the ambulance on the way. I just need you to do this, okay? So we can get the help for him. Okay. Once they arrive, they'll take over. We just need to start CPR now. You are doing great, okay? I just need you to get him on the floor. Okay, he's on the floor. You got him on the floor? Yeah. Okay, listen carefully, okay? Make sure that there's nothing under his head. Is he laying flat on his back? Yeah. Okay. Okay, just listen carefully and I'll tell you how to do chest compressions, okay? Okay. Place the heel of your hand on the breastbone. This is in the center of the chest, right between the nipples. Okay. Put your other hand on top of that hand. Okay. Okay. Stop pumping the chest hard and fast, at least twice per second, and 2 inches deep. Okay. Okay. Start counting out loud so I can count with you. Okay. We're gonna count 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Let me know when you're ready. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Count out loud so I can hear you. I'm counting with you. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. If it's easier for you, am I on speaker? Yes. Okay. 1, 2, 3,
She's not freaking out.
4. Do you know if the front door is open? No, it's locked. It's locked. I need you to go. Is there anybody else within the home or is it just you? It's all my kids. Okay. Are one of them old enough to go unlock the door? Yeah, it's unlocked. It's unlocked now? Yeah, he's here. He's here. Okay, we need to keep doing CPR. Here, keep in here. Okay. Should I keep you on the phone? Yeah, keep me on the phone. Go unlock the door and come back to doing CPR. No, he's here. He's here. Okay.
Firefighter Monaco is on scene. I'm beginning CPR, chest compressions.
Okay, is the ambulance there with you?
Yes. Not yet. The ambulance is en route.
Oh. Okay, are we doing CPR still? Yes, he's doing CPR. He's doing CPR right now. Okay.
Some of that background noise, I think, is there at the 911 call center. So, and then you do hear a male voice, I believe, of someone from the emergency medical team.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
That's a good point.
What kind of vehicle do you have outside?
Who sounds more, has a greater sense of urgency than 911 dispatcher or Kouri?
Me? I don't have a vehicle outside.
White Toyota 4Runner.
Okay, did a paramedic take over?
Anyway, that's this though. But yeah, I think that's another great great thing that the prosecution is entering. Help set the scene and show that, like we saw the following day, she's having a grand old time partying and celebrating and laughing it up with friends. Okay, then we had this detective here, Jamie Woody. She's pretty good. I'm just going to go to, I think I'm going to skip her part of it. I know she talks about how when she got to the scene that Amy, the sister, had mentioned things like that, that Eric had said something about Kouri wanted him dead or wanted to kill him, something to that effect. So let's go ahead and go to the private investigator and let's just cover the cross-examination on that. After the break here is when I believe the cross starts.
Sir, we're ready for the jury.
Afternoon, Ms. Nestor.
I don't believe you and I've ever met, but I am Kathy, and I'm Kathy Nestor, and I'm one of Ms. Richins' attorneys. So it's nice to meet you. So I want to just kind of start with a basic observation, but just to make it crystal clear, you are not law enforcement, correct?
Correct.
And you've never been law enforcement in your whole life, right?
Correct.
Okay. And the rules and ethics and expected practices of private investigators are significantly different, would you agree with me, than those that apply to licensed law enforcement?
I don't know that I would agree with that in every circumstance. A private investigator, when he is hired by a lawyer, is bound to all the ethics that lawyer is bound to.
Okay.
So,
But for example, you don't have to go get a warrant to go look at a house.
well, right, that's the state action distinction.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not a state actor.
Right.
I've never been a state actor.
Right.
I will never be a state actor.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, so what he's saying is he's not a state actor. In other words, the constitutional protections that we have, the Bill of Rights that are in the U.S. Constitution as well as a flow down to the states. So things like the Fourth Amendment against unreasonable searches and seizures, the Fifth Amendment protection of due process of law, Sixth Amendment right to counsel, things of that nature is what he's talking about, is that he doesn't have to comply with that because that is a restriction on the state or the federal government, not an individual party like him. But he has to act as a member of the defense team. And so he cannot go talk to people that are represented and interview them if they're opposing party representation in the civil suit here with between the Richins and Kouri.
so if you want to go search a house for 6 straight days and look at thousands of documents, you don't need to get a judge to give you permission to do that, right?
No, I got the permission of Kouri's lawyers who represented her to do that.
And you also got the permission of Clint Benson, right?
Yes.
And in fact, Clint gave you a key,
Yes.
and you had that key to use at your discretion.
Yes.
And there were times when you would go to the house and Clint was not there and you would let yourself in, right?
I believe that my testimony covered that, and that was that Clint was aware that I was there, and he was either on his way or there with me.
But you agree with me, and you have videos, I believe, that back this up. That there were occasions where you would go to the house, Clint was not there, you'd use your key and you'd go in.
Yes.
And there were occasions where you would be spending hours and hours and hours in the office, because I've watched all the videos,
Yes.
and you would be there alone without Clint anywhere around you.
Yeah, I don't need supervision, counselor. I was
Perfect.
conducting an investigation, independent investigation, and he had given me the key, trusted me with that, and I was authorized to enter the premises at will.
Right. So if he got on the stand and said you were never doing anything outside his eye, that would be false.
Well, from his perspective, he had knowledge of my presence there, as I have testified every time I was there.
Fair.
So from his perspective, it may look different.
Do you agree with me, sir, that there's hours and hours and hours of video of you alone in that office going through things?
I think that I've already testified to that.
Okay. Now, you were not permitted access to the house until after Kouri had been arrested, right?
No, that's not correct.
You got in the house before she was arrested?
No, that is not correct.
Okay. Help me out.
The house was released by
You should know the answer to the questions you ask on cross-examination. Otherwise, you look foolish like this. But they do it a lot here in this case, the defense.
the Summit County Sheriff's on the 8th.
Okay.
That's what gave us, that was the trigger, not Kouri's arrest. It was the end of their search that triggered our access to the house.
Okay.
The police were executing a warrant.
Do you know when Kouri was arrested, sir?
I don't recall the exact date or
Would-
time.
Would it surprise you to be the day before May 7th?
Okay.
All right. So,
Objection, Your Honor, foundation on that.
Was it
Would you
May?
re-ask the question,
Was it
Ms.
May?
It
Nestor?
was May 8th.
sorry, was it May? Would it surprise you if it was the same day, May 8th, that you got access to the house?
It would not surprise me since I do not recall.
Okay. And during the time after Eric's death, but before Kouri's arrest on May 8th, did you ever go inside the house for that entire year?
I'm sorry, could you ask that again?
Sure. During the time between when Eric Richins died on March the 4th,
Yep.
in the early morning hours
Yep.
of 2022,
Yep.
and May 8th of 2023, were you ever inside the house at any point in between those times?
No, never.
Perfect. So the first time you ever got in that house, over a year had expired since Eric had passed.
Yes.
Okay. And you mentioned the police had executed a search that day before they released it to you, right?
Yes.
And do you know how many times prior to that the police had searched that house?
No.
Okay. And then you've also testified here, I think very honestly, that on repeated occasions you notified the police, hey, there's something you missed. You might want to go back to the house and find it again.
I mean, I'm not going to adopt your characterization, but it is true that I called them back to that house when I discovered something that I thought was evidentiary.
How many times?
Oh, I don't know, 4, 5.
So on at least 4 to 5 occasions, you found things the police had missed.
Yeah. Oh, that's been my experience throughout my career.
And you
The
told
police
them.
never get everything, ever.
Right. Well, I'm not
It's
going to
true
argue.
in every case I've ever handled.
Sure, not going to argue with you on that one.
Yeah, it's true.
So they come back because you call them and say, hey, I found something, come back, here's where it is.
Yep.
And they know you're doing that. They know that you have full access to this house, right?
I don't know what they know. I can't answer that.
Well, you're calling them every time you find something.
Well, what opinion they formed in their mind is not within my knowledge.
Okay, fair. True, you call them every time you found something.
That I thought was of evidentiary value in their investigation.
And did any of them ever say, you know what, we're good, stop calling us?
No, I don't recall that at all.
So then the converse of that is they encourage you to keep doing that.
Well, no, that is not the converse of your hypothetical, and I do not agree with your assessment.
Okay.
Good.
Did you feel like you were helping them?
I was following the instructions of my client to turn over anything I thought was relevant to the criminal investigation. This is not my case. My case is in a civil court. Anything that we thought was of value to the criminal case, we turned it over.
And the police were happy with that.
I don't know if they were happy or sad or
What's the relevance of this, Nestor?
distraught. I have no idea as to their emotional condition.
They sure never
Yeah, they basically wanted you to do their job. Is that what you're trying to say, Attorney Nestor?
told you to stop.
The police never directed me to do anything, and if they had told me to stop, I would have ignored them.
Okay. So you could go in without a warrant, find something, call them, tell them to get a warrant, and they'd come get it.
I think that's an oversimplification and a vilification.
They always had consent to search anything, so she's just grandstanding. It's all grandstanding. This looks very, very pathetic.
I had permission to enter those premises. I had every right to be there.
Right.
I didn't need a warrant. I'm not a state actor. I have the permission of the property owner. So I don't agree with your characterization.
When the cops would show up, did you point out what you were showing them? Were you usually there?
No.
It's just very, very irritating. It's really insufferable listening to this kind of badgering a witness, I think. What do y'all think?
I was there on one occasion when the police showed up. They executed warrants when I was not there.
Okay.
Yeah. So I only remember one occasion where I found an audio recorder in a dresser drawer that they then recovered by one.
Michelle Harris says some online lawyers feel the state did not prove the Kouri connection, the fentanyl that killed Eric, a legitimate point of view. Okay, you can have naysayers. I'm just telling you, from my experience, there is enough of a connection, and they have motive, right? They have motive there. There's no connection to Eric in any fentanyl or anything close to that, but there is to Kouri, and everything she does is just oozing guilt, reeks of guilt, and it's just overwhelming motive to kill Eric. So that's how you overcome where the connection is not strong. If this was only a drug deal, then yeah, you're probably gonna have a problem getting a conviction if this was a drug deal and she's happened to pass the drugs on. But no, she's the one that was needing the drugs to execute her plan. So the circumstantial evidence is really strong in this case, super strong.
warrant.
And you waited around and pointed it out to them.
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, I never touched the device. So, yeah, I would have. I don't know if I pointed it out. I think what I did was, on that date, when I saw the recorder and recognized it for what it was, which is not easy, I just immediately withdrew. I left my audio recorder going until the police arrived. I don't recall pointing it out. I recall describing to them where it was.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So then there was one occasion where you found something that was a letter purportedly written by Eric called the My Princess letter. Do you remember that?
I remember a baby cakes letter. I don't know if I remember
That's it.
My Princess. Is that the same one?
That's the one.
Yes.
You remember finding that letter?
August the 9th of 2024 is when I took a photograph of that, but I found it on May the 10th of 2023 during my search of the residence.
So when you found this letter, at some point, did you move the location that you found it from?
Yeah, remember the Google searches? Okay. All that kind of stuff, circumstantially proven what she was up to.
I don't recall ever moving the location. On the video, you will see me find the letter on May the 10th of 2023 when I'm in the bedroom, and it is located in the bottom drawer of Eric's side of the bed, the bottom drawer of the vanity. And I looked at it. I didn't think it was relevant. I put it back down in the drawer. On August the 9th of 2024, when I photographed it on the bed, I do not recall if that letter was on the bed or whether I went and retrieved it from the vanity. But there is video. The August 9th, 2024 was the episode that I described that I was called over and I didn't have a video recorder. So I was recording by audio and and this is the same date that I recovered the audio recorder. So the letter was also photographed. And then later, I think it was taken by the police. I don't know. But
Let me stop you for just a minute.
okay.
You left the letter on the master bed, correct? For the police to find.
I left the letter on the master bed. I didn't know that the police were going to come for it.
Okay. And they ultimately did, correct?
Well, ultimately, I don't know because I wasn't present, so that's beyond my knowledge.
Isn't it true that you moved other things around in that house often?
No, that is not true.
Did you move a computer that you located in the office?
I don't recall moving a computer in the office, but I did not move it out of the office.
Did you put it in your Tesla?
I found it in possession of my client who had taken it, who had been given it or taken it from Becky Lloyd. So my understanding of the pathway of the C&E computer that I examined was that it was picked up by Becky, who lives nearby and works for C&E. The C&E computer, she then went to get business files off of it. I talked with her about this. I filed an extensive report regarding my interview about the computer. And then before I could get up to Francis to get that computer, I lived at the time 250 miles south of Francis in Washington County. So it takes me a while to get up to Francis. Before I could get up to get that computer, I believed that my client had already secured it. And so I went and got it from her.
So Becky got the computer from the house after Eric died,
Yep.
right?
Correct.
Then Becky gave it to Katie.
Correct.
And Katie gave it to you.
Correct.
And in all of that, no law enforcement ever put hands on it.
Correct.
And at some point, you took it back up to the office to go through it?
No.
Right. Well, there's video of you going through that computer in the office.
I suppose that I may not have remembered that I went through a computer in that office, but the C&E computer was processed at a location in Midway, and I recall that there was what I want to say is an obvious missing hard drive location. I could see the outlines of a hard drive that had been in place in that computer.
Okay, so what are you trying to say? The chain of custody was tampered with? There was documents that were fabricated and reconstructed and superimposed to make it look like there was stuff going on that wasn't? I mean, what's the point of all this? There's a civil suit that was started because of your client, and they're trying to defend it and show that your client was the perpetrator. So you're just looking like a fool in all this, I think.
I became suspicious that the
I guarantee the jury thinks that.
hard drive had been removed prior to me getting to that computer. I later sourced that missing hard drive to an upgrade that was performed by a computer company at the request of C&E. The hard drive contents were transferred to a solid state drive, and I did locate that inside the computer.
Okay. So can we play for the witness only clip TG10?
We're going to play without sound, right?
Yes, sir. No sounds necessary.
Okay.
I'm going to kind of wait till we get to the computer part. I'm sorry, that's the wrong one. Can we bring that one down? That's the next one. We want to go to the one right before that, which is 173. It's GXO 10073. Do you have that one? Okay. No worries. Whatever. So we'll get to.
Yes, but that was not the C&E computer.
Okay, what computer was that?
I don't recall. I'd have to see the video.
So this gentleman decided to put his neck brace on, his neck was hurting him, and he didn't want to take any pain meds today because he wanted to have a clear mind. So he's putting that brace on instead of taking pain meds.
So
That's why I made them.
you removed the laptop from the office and put it in your Tesla and drove away with it.
I don't recall that. No, I do not.
Yeah, again, the Tesla. I mean, this is so cheesy, folks. So cheesy. She's thinking, oh, these are really conservative Mormons on the jury, so they're going to really hate somebody that's driving a Tesla. It's really it's really comical in a way.
That would have been my, if there was a laptop in that office, it was mine.
Okay, well, we're going to pull it up in just a minute. I'll
Fantastic.
refresh your memory.
Yeah.
Also, you mentioned earlier that you didn't take, other than the vital records and the attorney-client privileged records, that you didn't take anything else out of the home. That's not entirely true. You also took a safe out of the house?
Okay, so someone's asking, why did the first attorney team get off the case? There was some kind of conflict. We don't know what the conflict is. Normally that's not disclosed. And difference between a public defender and a court-appointed attorney is a public defender is a full-time state employee working for the defense on whatever criminal case they're assigned. Where court-appointed, they have their own private practice. They can sign up to be handed cases, assigned cases by whatever court they apply to. And so they'll have a prearranged contract where they get a certain amount per hour to represent the folks that can't afford an attorney of their own.
Yeah, I described that by report, but that house, that safe was returned.
Okay, so you went into the house with your own key, correct?
Yes.
You went into the family, I believe is in the master closet, is that right? Where was it?
Yes.
You picked it up, took it out of the house, and put it in your Tesla.
Yes, I believe I did that at the request of Clint Benson.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you drove it to a locksmith,
I did.
and you busted into the safe.
I did not bust into the safe.
Well, he did.
He bumped. He used a technique called bumping. It's the movement of the door and the frame of the safe that allows it to come open.
Okay, but you didn't have a combination.
I don't know if that was a combination. I thought there was a key to that one.
It was forced open with a hammer, right?
I think it was
Yeah, and if it belongs to the trust, what's the problem, counsel?
a rubber mallet, and it was dropped onto the ground.
Okay.
I think that's what eventually got it open, was that it was dropped onto a flat surface.
And when you were doing that, there's no law enforcement there, correct?
I don't need law enforcement to babysit me.
Okay. And you open it up, and there's clips from guns in there, right?
I would have to go back to my report to recall exactly what was in there.
But you handled it with your bare hands, no gloves.
I did.
Is that a relevant piece of evidence here? This is really, really bizarre.
All right. And I'm sorry. You also found an unusual residue in the safe. Do you recall that? That you touched with your fingers?
I don't recall that.
All right. We'll play that in a second.
Fantastic.
I do think we found the video of the laptop. So can we queue up for the witness only GXO 10073?
Yeah, that's my laptop. I am scanning into my laptop the documents that I am going through at the office. That is my laptop.
The black one?
Yes.
Okay. So you're scanning all the documents you're finding in the office and then loading them into your laptop.
Yes.
Okay. All right. And again, Clint Benson was not present when you were doing any of this.
Yes, that is my testimony on direct.
Okay. Now let's go to the one of the safe. Can you pull up the clip 100055? Hold on just a moment. 1055. See if you can find that one. Sorry. I think it might be under the impeachment documents. Nope. Okay. All right. We'll get the safe one up to refresh your memory about that residue. You don't remember touching some residue and filming it and asking the safe breaker if that was unusual to find residue in a safe?
I don't recall that. I would have to refer back to the video that I made of that for just this purpose.
Okay. No worries. So my understanding is you were at the house. There were some times before you got access to the house while Ms. Richins was still living there that you would sit outside her house and observe the house while she was in it. Is that fair?
It is not fair. That is false.
You never did that?
I never sat outside her house and watched her. False.
Not on March 9th of 2023?
Correct.
Not on April 12th of 2023?
Correct.
But you did put trackers on their cars. Is that right?
I did.
And that's a secret device that you put on someone's car so you can follow where they're going without their knowledge?
So GPS tracking devices are generally covert, and there's good reason for that. I put GPS devices on Kouri's vehicle and two of Lisa's vehicles, one of which was being used by Kouri's brother, Ronnie.
So her mother's cars and her car.
That is correct.
And how long did you track these individuals?
I think there were different times for different vehicles.
Were you tracking them in your Tesla?
I don't recall the exact amount of time, but that'll be in the file that you have.
Shame on you.
And did you turn over your reports on every single place they went for months to law enforcement?
Yes.
And you know that law enforcement is required to have a warrant to do that.
Well, they have to get a warrant, and I have to go through a different procedure that's prescribed by Utah law to appropriately place those devices.
Did you track anybody else's car in this case?
I want to say yes. Yes, I did.
Who else's?
There were some vehicles that I suspected that Carmen Lauber may be utilizing. But I discovered that, in fact, the vehicle that was parked at her house overnight on many occasions was being driven by someone else.
So you never gave that report to law enforcement?
I believe I did.
Oh, darn. I was trying to bust you on something so critical.
You gave the Carmen Lauber tracking report to law enforcement?
Yes, it wouldn't be named Carmen Lauber, though.
What would it be named?
Oh. I want to say there were a number of people that were associated with her residence.
That's all right. If it's
There was
someone,
Nick Bon Savage. There was another young man who were frequenting that residence. And I believe that vehicle that I tracked from that residence was seen there overnight on multiple occasions.
Okay.
I really don't remember, because the point of that was to track Carmen Lauber. And when I discovered that it wasn't Carmen driving the car, I removed the device.
Okay. Law enforcement was also providing you, I believe you said that Mr. Bloodworth asked you if you got information from law enforcement, and you said no. Is that right?
No, that is not right.
Okay, please correct me.
Well, I would have discussions with law enforcement. I could garner an understanding. I could read between the lines, if you want.
In fact, you went to meetings with law enforcement about this case, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
How many times did you have meetings with them?
I don't recall. I don't count them.
Okay.
The number is not relevant to me.
Well, you appreciate it might be relevant to me? Can you try to remember?
Half a dozen.
Okay. Can you pull up TG 11 for the witness only? Can you make it bigger? All right, sir, do you recognize that? Can you see it?
I can see it.
Do you recognize it?
I do.
All right, and is that an email that you sent to Detective Woody on July 13th of 2022?
I'm going to have difficulty talking about this exhibit because if it becomes an exhibit, it contains a confidential client communication. But I did send it to Detective Woody.
Okay.
Your Honor, I would object to Mr. David being required to testify regarding any claim.
With respect, I'm not sure you have standing to make any objections, and he seems fully attuned to the issue. Ms. Nestor, I'm not sure where we're headed, so just take it one question at a time.
I shall. Thank you, Your Honor.
That's an understatement of the day. We're not sure where she's headed.
Is it fair to say that this is an example of you suggesting to Detective Woody that now would be a really good time for law enforcement to interview Carmen Lauber?
Yes,
And why would that be, sir?
she's on the ropes in drug court is what it says.
Right.
She was on the ropes.
And in fact, what you argued was she would be very likely to be compliant at this point with law enforcement. Is that your words?
Yes.
All right.
Something wrong with that? It's accurate.
Also in here, you accuse Kouri of lying about the name of her house cleaner.
Yes.
And the lie that you said Kouri told was that her house cleaner was her cute cleaner, Norma.
Yes.
In fact, didn't you, sir, finally confirm that Norma Garcia was her house cleaner?
I did later confirm that. Yes.
So when you sent this to police and said Kouri was lying, you were wrong.
I was wrong.
Okay.
Like, that's a big deal to make. And the guy readily admits it. This is really desperation hour here.
Prior to Norma.
Your Honor.
Gabler, you need to pause for the next question, sir. Thank you.
Very good.
Did law enforcement give you access to I'm going to try to use the right word, to folders where you could access their information on like a subfolder where you had a link to their folder?
No.
Did you provide them with links to your folder?
Yes.
And one of the links you provided them involved a download of Eric's phone. Is that right?
No.
Okay. Did it involve the decoded call logs that you talked about earlier where you figured out everybody's number and name?
I'm confused. You're talking about two separate things. You were just talking about Eric's phone.
You said no, right?
I had an identical copy of Eric's phone that I created from the backup on his Apple iCloud. I may have turned that over to them, but they already had Eric's phone. I didn't need to give them what I had done, which was to trick the Apple server into repopulating a blank iPhone so that I could then forensically examine that iPhone and come up with context from Eric's phone. So I may have given them that information that I created from a clone of Eric's phone.
So you had in your possession a clone or an exact copy of Eric Richins' phone?
It would not be an exact copy. Only the items that were unencrypted or decryptable from the Apple backup would be on the cloned phone. For example, encrypted data would not be present for biometrics, for his Apple Watch. If he was wearing a biometric watch, well, that is all encrypted. That would not come back to a new cloned phone. But all of the text messaging, the web histories, the call histories, all of that stuff will be present on that clone.
So you had access to all his texts?
I don't believe I did.
Why not? And this is maybe a stupid old lady question, but explain to me why you didn't have access to his texts if you downloaded everything off the
You
cloud.
said all of his texts.
Okay.
I don't believe I ever got all of his texts.
How far back did they go?
I don't recall a date at this time. I would have to refer to the file material to know the exact date of the first event on the phone.
So how much time did you spend reading through his texts?
Well,
I mean, really, that's how weak your cross-examination is? You're just on a fishing expedition, a meandering fishing expedition that's getting us nowhere. You've proven not a single thing except that you're just trying to take up time of the jury.
well, I don't recall exactly. I could refer back to some records to come up with an answer for you. It would have been a number of hours.
Hundreds of hours?
No.
Okay.
I mean, in this case,
Right.
936.3 hours.
Is how many hours you billed total for the case?
Yep.
And what were you paid for that?
I don't know.
How much do you charge an hour?
$125 an hour. However, that is not the only billing rate in this case. when I used computer forensic software and my expertise in that regard, the rate would be higher. $200 an hour, I think, was the discounted rate that I gave them.
So I'm really bad at math. Please forgive me if I get this wrong.
Yeah, well, we're both in the same place.
We're talking about over $100,000 you made on this case.
I would say so, yes.
Okay. Now I'm going to go back to that phone and you reading his text.
Yes.
Oh, brother.
As you were culling through your hypotheses,
Yeah.
obviously one of the things you want to look at is the state of their marriage. Is that fair?
I mean, it's significant, but it's not dispositive.
I agree.
It's important context, but it's not evidence of anything, really. I see a lot of bad marriages out there. In my career, I've handled many hundreds of divorce cases. So, people have problems.
Did you review text messages between Eric and some of his friends?
Yes.
Did you review text messages between Eric and Bryce?
Bryce Knudsen?
Yes.
I don't recall specifically, but if they were there, I probably looked at them.
Okay. Your Honor, can I have just a moment?
All right, this is as we're coming to the end here. This is where she really
This was sitting here.
becomes unhinged, and really, I think, does some major strikeout and total humiliation and embarrassment of herself and her team, and basically a disgrace to the legacy of Eric. Really a bad move here coming up. So what she's actually going to do is introduce more motive for Kouri. Does she not realize that? I mean, no one's taking this seriously anyway, but she's trying to make it sound like it's something about Eric's character that she wants the jury to know about, and yet they don't have any proof. They don't have any of these messages that they introduce to evidence or directly question this guy on. So let's see what she's going to ask him.
When you reviewed Eric's texts, did you find evidence of him sexting with people other than Kouri?
I don't recall that.
Well, they had their little huddle to make sure this is a grand finale, a grand entrance to go after him for one last final attack and exposure of how Eric was so bad he needed to be killed.
I did investigate allegations of an affair with Eric.
So remember, we heard about Eric having an affair. So guess what? They're going to put a spin on this one.
Okay, but that's not my question. My question is, do you recall seeing sexting, as the kids say, on Eric's phone with people other than Kouri?
I don't really know what you mean by sexting. I don't know what the parameters of that are. And so my answer is no.
Okay. Did you find any texts where Eric talked about having an open marriage with Kouri?
I don't recall that.
At some point, were you investigating cases that were being prosecuted in the Summit County area around the time that Eric died, where people were caught distributing fentanyl?
Yes.
Did you gather affidavits from cases where fentanyl was being sold in the Summit County area?
Yes.
And did you ever follow up on any of those investigations, or did you just stop by gathering the affidavits?
Well, they were plugged into the hypothesis testing matrix. I considered them for their proximity being in Summit County and for them involving fentanyl. In each of those cases, I found no relationship to this case.
Okay. I want to pull up TG2, Katie, just for the.
There you go. She's asking questions that just sink her theory. Smart.
This witness only? Sorry, I lied about the time. I'm going a little bit longer, Your Honor. I'm close to done.
No problem.
Sir, do you recognize that?
I do.
Is that what you were talking about with Mr. Bloodworth, which is the decoding where you looked at his call records and tried to figure out who he was calling?
It is the record that I referred to when I was talking about it on direct. I agree with that.
And Katie, could we go to the page for the date 2/14/2022 at 12:23 p.m.? It's a ways down. Just a moment, Your Honor.
Of course.
Eric Richins' phone had an incoming call at 12:25.
Can you look at the call right above that one?
This is an outgoing call from Eric Richins' phone on March the 9th of 2022. I'm sorry, February the 14th of 2022 at 12:23, 2 minutes before the first record that we talked about. And that is to a different number, 801-473-5058.
So as part of your investigation that you were doing on the mirror phone, you could at least identify a call that was made by Eric at 12:23 p.m. on February 14th, right?
I'm confused. We're looking at an invoice record from a carrier, and you're asking me about his phone. Those are two different things.
Did this invoice come from his phone?
No,
Billing records?
from his carrier, from Verizon.
Right.
That's not a record from his phone. That's a record from his carrier.
Understand.
Two different things.
So according to the bill from his carrier,
Yeah.
he made a call at 12:23 p.m. on February 14th.
Correct.
Objection. There's a 901 problem.
I'm done with it, Your Honor.
Hold on. You got to approach for a moment, if you would.
Okay. Almost to an end here.
Well, somewhere around there, 40 to 50. You mentioned you interviewed 45 to 50 people, somewhere around there, 40 to 50.
Yeah, it's an approximate number. I have no method of calculating that number. It's approximate based upon my memory.
Did you ever interview Kouri?
I did. I spoke to Kouri. She called me on January the 19th of 2023.
All right. And she voluntarily spoke to you
She called me.
and talked to you voluntarily?
She did. And I stopped her. I told her it would be inappropriate and unethical for me to continue the conversation outside the presence of her lawyer. I then texted her lawyer and had a phone call with her lawyer about the propriety of her client speaking without her presence.
Okay.
I then
So
requested that Kouri submit to an interview multiple times.
All right, stop.
Okay.
Don't reveal what anyone else said to you.
Okay.
The point is, Kouri called you to talk to you and tell you her side, right?
I don't know what her intentions were. She seemed very angry that I had contacted one of her business associates. I believe that was the reason she called me on that date.
Okay. And so you never to this day have sat down with Kouri and heard her version of what happened?
No, despite my repeated requests.
Okay. But she called you.
And I was bound by the ethics not to talk to her outside the presence of her lawyer. She was a litigant. She sued my client.
Okay.
That's true. He could not talk to her at all unless her attorneys were present.
And ultimately, as you were working with the trust, did you become aware that the trust filed a wrongful death suit against Kouri?
I am.
And are you aware they're seeking over $10 million in damages against Kouri Richins?
I didn't know that. It's irrelevant to me.
Okay.
How's that helping you? They're thinking, wow, there's a lot of legal stuff she's in trouble with here. Are you trying to get sympathy from the jury? I don't think it's working. There must be some evidence there if it's still in the court system.
Okay, court's indulgence for just a moment, Your Honor.
Of course.
Can you put that up on the screen? Do you recalled seeing any texts with Eric about him and Kouri having an open relationship? And you said you could not recall. Is that right?
Correct.
Can you put that up on the screen, Katie? Do you recall looking at that text?
I do.
You've seen this one?
I believe I have. It's a joke.
It's a joke.
It is. It appears to me to be a joke.
Did you see the text around this text?
I did.
So you have reviewed the text between Eric and Bryce.
I don't know. I don't know that this is a text from Bryce. I have no idea. This does not identify Bryce.
So
Doesn't
now that
identify anybody.
now that you have your memory refreshed, do you remember seeing this text between Eric and another individual saying that Kouri and I are starting an open relationship tonight? Right?
It says, Kouri and I are starting an open relationship tonight, so I told her I'm taking you home.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And you left that out of your report.
No, this would be part of my report.
Did you see sexting between Bryce and Eric when you looked at their texts?
I don't recall that, no.
Katie?
You know, she's making this general characterization, but she's not bringing specific things other than this one. And he says it's a joke. So we don't know the context of it all. And if there's the context was something serious of this nature, then show the rest of it.
And is this sexting? I don't know what you mean.
No, I'm not talking about this one. I'm
Okay.
talking about other ones.
All right. I don't recall. I'm talking about many hundreds of thousands of messages in this case. I can't recall them all.
Let's see. Just a moment.
You don't have to give money. Please make a comment. I don't ask for money on this
Court's
channel.
indulgence for just a moment.
All right. Those of you that are new, I don't ask for money on this channel. I don't ask for likes or subs. Okay, and this is someone saying the text were from the bride.
Can I show you this other text right here and see if this refreshes your memory? Do you remember seeing a whole bunch of emails like this or texts like this between Eric and Bryce?
Honestly, no, I don't remember. Like I say, there were hundreds of thousands of messages in this case. I don't remember even 1% of them. As I look at this, I mean, it just makes me laugh. It doesn't appear to be serious.
So how many of these joke sextings did you review that Eric did?
I don't understand this to be sexting. I think you're wrong about that. I resist your characterization. These are two friends joking with each other. That's what I'm reading here.
And they did that all the time?
I don't know.
Hundreds of times?
If I had the records, and then I could answer your question, but I don't remember all of these messages. And yeah, this is a joke.
Did you review all of the texts between Bryce and Eric?
Is he talking about their defense, or is he talking about the text being a joke? Or is it both?
I think at one time I would have gone through every single text message that was available to me on Eric's cloned phone. So do I recall it? Well, I recall that it was a bit mind-numbing. There was a lot there. Nothing particularly stuck out in my mind or memory about those messages.
Did they repeatedly talk about having sex acts together?
I don't recall.
Did they repeatedly talk about oral sex together?
I don't recall.
Did they talk about anal sex together?
Also don't recall.
But you read them all,
I'm sure that I did.
and it's all joking.
Knowing what I know about Bryce and Eric, yeah, that's how I interpret it.
So you do remember.
So he knows about their background. He doesn't take this serious. It's just a joke. They talk very crude, apparently, and nasty. So anyway, it's something that she's not bringing up specifically of what they comment about. So it's making her look bad. And what's the whole point of this? This is like she's trying to come up with another motive for Kouri because he's trying to cheat on her. Now with Bryce, before we thought it was somebody from the office, now it's Bryce. Where's this come into play here? Unbelievable.
We're reading things of this nature and you interpreted it all as joking.
No, as I sit here today, I interpret it that way. I would have interpreted it that way back at my original reading of it. That doesn't mean I recall it. It means I have an opinion about what I thought then. That's different.
And what did you think then? They were joking?
No. What I think now is that this was a joke. I do not have a recollection of this at the time that I first read it, but if I had a recollection of that time, I'm sure it would be the same as it is today.
And if there were these tens of 20s of 50s of these types of emails, all of them would be jokes?
Foundation.
Sustained.
That's it. That's all I have, Your Honor.
Mr. Bloodworth, anything further from Mr. Gabler?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. The text, there are a bunch of to-dos locker room talk from August of 2018.
That was my read of it, yes.
There wasn't any serious read that Eric Richins and Bryce Knudsen were engaged in some homosexual affair.
Zero.
In all of the text messages you reviewed, did you see any evidence of Eric using illicit street drugs?
No, I looked and I could not find.
You mentioned legal requirements for a licensed private investigator to place a GPS tracker on a car. What are those legal requirements?
So the statute governing that was adopted a few years ago. It requires that before placing the device, a licensed private investigator must identify the person or persons that are driving that vehicle and potentially the owner of that vehicle, and that they submit a request to query the protected persons database in the state of Utah for any record of those persons that are subject to the GPS tracking. That is designed to keep us from tracking people who have protective orders or temporary restraining orders or other lawful processes that define them as a protected person. We cannot track you in that circumstance. We do not have independent access to that database. So we must ask an agency of the state for a yay or nay. Is this person in the protected persons database? We have to do that before we place a device. We have to be certain that we are not tracking a protected person. So I submitted those requests to the appropriate counties of the jurisdictions where I placed these devices. The Summit County Sheriff's Office initially declined my request under the statute. I insisted. I finally got them to comply. I did the same with the Wasatch County Sheriff's Office, and they complied with my request.
Did you conduct your investigation entirely within the bounds of the law?
I believe I did.
Did you conduct your investigation entirely within the ethical bounds of private investigators and the attorneys you were working for in this case?
I believe that I did.
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Nestor, anything further for Mr. Gabler?
No, Your Honor.
May we release this witness?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Thank you for your
Yeah, so that's it for the day, folks. That was a wild, crazy Monday. So look what all they accomplished, the defense. Basically just carpet bomb smearing Eric, trying to make him out to be some kind of a cheating man, someone that's basically it just goes against everything they've been saying in the beginning of their opening. I always think in the opening, what are they saying is going to happen? What's the evidence going to show? The evidence is going to show that they had a loving marriage, and now they're doing this kind of ash and trash, garbage time, trying to make him look like he's doesn't give one iota about the marriage, stepping out in the marriage and all that kind of stuff. So, wow, this is like this is really like unbelievable. So it just goes to show they know they got to lose their case. They can't focus on things that are relevant to the case. So this is another great day for the prosecution. I saw a couple comments and mentioned them earlier about how some folks are saying, some lawyers are saying that the state hasn't proven their connection to the fentanyl and whatever. I disagree. The overall circumstantial evidence fills in so many details, and the motive is just off the charts. So, and there they are, just trying to drag Eric's name through the mud, and so this will come back to bite them. Jury is not stupid; they're going to see it for what it is, and I think the jury's just alienated by the behavior of the defense team. And so I think Nestor's the one they probably least like hearing from on cross-examination. And so there you have it. More to follow. Hope to be back tomorrow night and cover more. So y'all be safe, take care, and hope to get done in less than we're almost two and a half hours. So got to wrap it up quicker, but there's a lot to cover from today. So anyway, you all be safe, have a good one, and justice for Eric's family here, and go from there. Thanks. Good night.